What's up, YouTube? Let's talk about hiring developers. So, when you're hiring a developer, you want a good one, right? You want to know that someone you hire is going to come in, do a great job, nail it, you're going to get great code, you're going to get your product to market, and everything's going to be fantastic. But how do you do it? The demand for developers is crazy right now, and a lot of times, especially if you're not a developer yourself, you don't know how to tell if they're any good or not. So we're going to talk about what you can do. You need to make sure that they write code in the interview. It is almost impossible to really tell how good someone is by just talking to them, because talking and writing code just aren't quite the same thing. Come through with amazing resumes and just can talk up a storm, and they understand everything that's coming out of my mouth, and they talk about projects that they've been on that sound really good, and then I have them write code and they just fall right on their face. Now, it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens way more than you think. In fact, there was a really famous blog on Coding Horror about why can't programmers program, and this phenomenon has been going on basically forever. It's shocking how many developers just don't really know how to program. And you'd be surprised how many of them will come in with resumes that say senior or even principal engineer. That actually happened to me once. And they can't even loop through a list. That actually occurred. It blew my mind. So the first thing you need to do to absolutely be sure about who you're hiring is to make them write code in the interview. If you don't make them write code in the interview, and I don't mean on a whiteboard, you don't really know if they can code. You want to make sure that it simulates as close as you can to your real world coding experience. If you are watching this and you are not a developer, you're not like an engineering manager, you're not someone who knows what that code should be, there are some platforms that you can use, like HackerRank and CodeSignal, that have built-in coding environments and even default suggested tests. And while those aren't maybe perfect, they're pretty good, and they're definitely better than nothing. The core of being a good developer isn't just knowing a lot about code, it's knowing how to ask the right questions and being willing to learn new things. If it's been done before in software, you can just copy that code, so there's really not a lot of reason to reinvent the wheel, right? Like, you don't want to hire someone who says, oh, I've done this like 20 times before, because if they really have done it 20 times before, something's wrong. Like, you should be able to just go download some open source code or something. Now, if you're working on WordPress or something and it's really a job where they're not a developer, they're configuring something, that's different. If you're looking for a developer to configure WordPress or configure some package, then it is good if they really know the package well. But I'm talking about developers who need to come in and build completely new software. So for them, you really want them to be able to learn quickly and be excited by learning, because technology changes very fast. And with it, it's what's going to make them excellent. You need someone who can communicate. And this is a bit of a tall order, but the better they can communicate with you and ask questions in particular, the better they're going to do as a developer. Good questions about the business, not just about the technical stuff, is what's going to make a developer really shine. An awful lot of time is wasted when a developer misunderstands what they're trying to do because they don't understand context. They don't understand the business, they don't understand the product, they don't understand the why of what they're being asked to do. So the way they execute it, it fulfills the requirements of what's been asked, but in a way that's kind of weird and not really what you were hoping for. And it's really hard to avoid that by trying to be super, super specific about every little tiny detail, when if they really just, got it, they would kind of intuit some of that. They're never going to intuit everything, but you want to at least try to have that sync, that vibe, where they get you and what you're trying to achieve, not just, it needs to do ABC, right? If you've got those things and they're not a dick, then you're probably dealing with a pretty good developer. They can write code, they ask questions, they communicate well, they're eager to learn, and they're a nice person to be around. Hire them.